Hi, welcome to episode 546 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira over on Instagram and Blue Sky. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my handspun yarn and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? I hope that you are doing well. It is Monday, November 17th. I can hardly believe we are halfway through the month. Next week is the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States, which is a holiday with a not so nice past, but my family celebrates it with good food and togetherness. It is the only time that my side of the family will be together through the end of the year, so it is always a lovely time to get together. And I will let you know that I will be taking a break from podcasting next week because I will be busy working and with spending time with my niece and nephew and my parents and everyone else. I will actually be working. Sadly, now that I work for a retail company, I don't really get to take the holiday week off, but I will also be spending time with them sort of in the in-between times. So I am looking forward to a change of scenery and a little bit of a change. So my next podcast will be 2 weeks from today, and I hope it will find you well then. So today I am drinking tea. I am drinking the West Highland Tea Company from Scotland, rhubarb and custard. I got this in Mallaig when I was there this past summer, which is a little port town where the steam train goes to, and I am drinking it in my hoops and yo-yo mug that I love. They were Hallmark characters years ago, and I like both the tea and the mug, and I'm looking forward to a tasty beverage. So last week when I recorded, it was quite cold. It was in the 30s. And the funniest thing happened because Sunday evening I had been remarking to my husband how lovely the trees looked because we were really in like our peak fall color. We had a mulberry tree that was bright yellow and it was just stunning. And I didn't even notice it before I recorded, unless I said something last week. I can't remember. But my husband came in late in the afternoon the next day and he goes, "Look at how beautiful your tree is." And I looked out and every single leaf on the tree had just fallen on the ground. So my driveway was covered in yellow and orange leaves, and it literally happened overnight because we had been coming home the night before, and I had been the afternoon before, and I had been remarking how beautiful it was. So fall has truly fallen here. Most of the leaves are off the trees. Trees are looking bare. It got warm this week, and now it's back to a little bit chillier. It was like 70 on Saturday, and now it's back to 40s or so. So I think we're going to have a few more of these warm, cool bouts, and it looks like next week when I'm with my parents, the weather will be in the 60s, which is fine. And so I think that's sort of what we're looking at for the next little bit. So as always, I have goals. I have goals before the end of the month. I have goals before the end of the year. And let's talk about what I have been working on. So I am working on socks for my niece Roxy. I am giving them to her at Thanksgiving because, again, I won't see her again before the end of the year. So my holiday gifting timeline is usually moved up a little bit because we exchange some presents at Thanksgiving. So I am working on a pair of socks for her. As you recall, I knit the first sock and finished that a week or so ago. And these are knit in deep dye works, I think. Let's see. Deep dyed yarns. It is their Good Juju sock base. She is an indie dyer, or I should say they, because I don't actually know if it's a her. They are an indie dyer in Kentucky. I picked up this yarn when I was there in May. While my husband was doing a bike ride there, I went to a really super cute shop that was in an old house, and they had this yarn. This is called Multiplayer, which is kind of a video game reference, and it is blue and purple and pink and black. And I just did a simple pattern. It's called Wish You Were Here by Kitchen Sink Dye Works. It's not Dye Works. It's like the kitchen sink shop. I need to look at my page. All of the notes are on thecornerofknitandtea.com, and so you will be able to find the details there. If it is not linked, it means it is only a pattern that is available on Ravelry. I hope Ravelry is safe for you to use. If it is not, I am sorry. This is a pattern that I downloaded years ago, so that's like the only place that I know that it is. Anyway, it's just a nice kind of lacy pattern on the sock. And so this was the first sock, and I am working on the second sock, and I got through the heel and the gusset this weekend. So this is the second sock. It's got a mirror opposite, so these will kind of match in terms of the band down the side of the foot. So this is the heel, sorry, the cuff and heel, and then I finished the gusset, so now I just have to work on the toe and the foot and toe. And this may be knitting, sort of driving out to see my parents. I can finish it anytime in the next week and a half or so, and I'll probably work on it a little bit this week, but if I don't finish it before we leave, that's fine. I will definitely finish it in the car. I will also have yarn left over, so hopefully at some point in the near future, I will work on a pair of socks for me. I thought about combining this yarn with the other yarn that I knit Miles socks in. Those were monkey socks, and I knit them last month, and so the kids will both have socks for the holidays. So that is my progress on that. I'm pretty pleased with that because I went out midweek and took it in the car, and had I went to Quilt Guild meeting, and I got to sit and knit at Quilt Guild. So the second big project that I'm working on this month is my sweater for Nanny Swaymo. I am knitting 6 Crooked Highways by Kristen Jansuk, who is Media Parawana on social media, and I am knitting it in Cozy Colorworks yarn in the colorway Northern Lights. And this is yarn that I have been basically hoarding since I got it back in 2018. It is Cozy Colorworks, and they are I first met them when I went to Rhinebeck. Their fingering weight is a little bit lighter than normal. It's 550 yards to a skein, and that is fine because the pattern that I'm actually knitting calls for that as well. My gauge is a little bit off, so I am actually knitting the extra large size to get what I want for a 38 bust, but I should have enough yarn. This is the yarn itself. It is kind of a pewter color, and then it's got bits of Aurora Borealis in it, so pink and purple and kind of a green. And of course, it seems appropriate because everyone is seeing the Borealis. The color is called Northern Lights. I think I said that. And then the colorway is basically the Borealis. And I think it's kind of appropriate because everyone has been seeing the Aurora these last few weeks. And not us. We have never been able to see it. I laugh because we took a trip to Norway. Excuse me. In 2022, and we still didn't get to see it even though we were there. We woke up in the middle of the night, we went outside because I was like, I'm not missing this, we're in Norway, it's my time to see the Northern Lights, and it was foggy and there was nothing. So instead, I'm making myself a sweater that looks like the Northern Lights, and I am doing very well. The Nanny Swaymo is the National Knit a Sweater Month challenge, and the challenge is to knit a sweater that is at least 50,000 stitches in the month of November. I am currently at 38,000 stitches, and I am about 11 and a half inches into the body. So I am getting close to the point where I am going to split for the front and back. The pattern is basically a drop shoulder, so I expect that the sweater itself is going to be kind of boxy, but I will be breaking for front and back. And so right now I'm still continuing to knit in the round. It is a fun cable pattern that kind of switches. It's a little bit chevron-like, and so I am really, really enjoying it. I know that the, well, that's a better view. I know that the yarn and the pattern fight with each other a little bit. Excuse me, I'm not actually ill. But with all the leaves falling and all the pollen, and I've gone out for a walk the last couple days, my sinuses are kind of crazy. Anyway, that is what I have got for my sweater. My hope is that I will finish I will get myself up to the underarms this week, which I think is possible. And then I will take this on our trip, and we have several days of driving through our travels. So I will have plenty of time to work on it. And my plan is to just keep working on this. I might take an extra pair of socks with me, but I'm almost thinking about only bringing one project with me for the entire trip because I really only have one thing that I'm working on, and there is no way that I will finish this. So I did choose to knit a fingering weight sweater in November. I will not be done by the end of November. My hope is that by the end of November, I will be done with the body, and then I can concentrate on the sleeves. And my goal for this is to finish it by the end of the year. Part of it is, again, that I picked a fingering weight sweater, and it's even smaller gauge than normal because it's an even lighter fingering weight than normal. But that said, it also has to do with the fact that I just can't knit the way I used to. I used to be able to knit 2, 3, 4 4 hours in a row. And I don't expect that will change, even though we are having lots and lots of driving. My plan is that I'll only be able to knit for a couple hours a day. So, I will get this done when I get it done. It will be wonderful to wear whenever that is. And sadly, I think my days of knitting a sweater in a month, particularly a fingering weight sweater in a month, are probably over. But that is what I'm working on. I'm really, really pleased with the progress, and it's an enjoyable knit. I have the pattern memorized now, so unless I have a brain fart, which I did in one column last night, I think I'm doing fine, and should be good to go, although I do need to print out the pattern. I need to remember to print that out so I can take it with me in the car so that I don't have to access any of my devices, because of course once I do the front split for the front and back, I do think there will be some subtle shaping. Not a ton, but some subtle shaping. So that is all the knitting content, and likely to be all the knitting content until I get back from my trip. I will probably finish Roxy's socks, and I will definitely give them to her while I am gone. So I don't know what I will be working on when I come back. Sorry, I'm just going to, I'm not going to do that. I will, I was going to take a tissue, but the tissue box is under the phone, so I think I'm not going to do that. So Roxy's socks will be given to her, and then I'm not sure what I will pick up when I get home. I really would also like to finish that scrappy blanket, so I think that's probably what I'll pick up when I get home, and alternate the scrappy blanket with my sweater, and hopefully finish both of those in December. And then I have not given a lot of thought to what I'm going to knit next year. I do think I will probably have a February fix it, finish it, or frog it. That's been my thing for the last several years, and it's not an official knit along or anything, but basically I pull out all of the projects that I still have on the needles and I fix it, finish it, or frog it, or at least get towards finishing it if that's what I want to do. But many years I go ahead and frog some things and reclaim some yarn and some needles and kind of start fresh. So that is my plan, probably January, February, March timeframe. And then I'm not sure what else I will delve into. I have other projects that I would like to cast on, but I just don't know what I'll pick yet. So let's talk about spinning very briefly. I finally finished spinning that bobbin of purple, so that is here. You can see there is some subtle variation, but it really reads fairly monotone, and that is why I had decided to go ahead and spin something else to be a second ply. So this is a Polworth silk blend, and it was kind of a day's end braid dye. Basically what it was we went over for a dye day. We all dyed, and we poured the leftovers of our dyes into a few separate jars kind of based on colors, and this was kind of the blue purple jar. And so this is how the fiber took the dye there. It's interesting because we could see a lot of color in the jar, but clearly a lot of the color had actually already been absorbed by other things because this came out fairly pale. It is a Polworth silk blend, and you can see that the dye was absorbed differently by some of the different stuff, and it gave kind of a very subtle barber pole. There are some bluey purples, there are some reddish purples, and so this came out fairly well, and I finished this. This should be right around 4 ounces of fiber, maybe a little bit more, and I finished spinning that late last week and started spinning on the 2nd. The fiber that I'm going to spin to go with it is a braid called Besotted. It is from Hello Yarn, and it has the great purple and a little bit of blue in it that I think are going to go really nicely with this. This still looks awfully cool and blue next to it, but I think I'm going to give it a go this time. I think it will be fine. And so this braid is a braid of Falkland, and it has some other colors in it too. It has some orange and green, teal, and then some purple and lots of greens and kind of swampy colors. And that is what I am spinning to go along with it. This is the second 2 ounces. I have most of the first 2 ounces spun up. Unfortunately, this one will not be done before I leave. Even if I could finish the singles, which I'm not sure I can, I would never get it plied. So it will not be up in the shop before I go. A note about that, the shop will be closed next week. So if there's anything in there that you are looking to get, I will not be doing a Black Friday sale. I just, to be honest, don't have enough in the shop, and I will not be home to ship. So I will be putting the shop on vacation next week. So if there's anything you want, grab it this week so I can ship it out before we leave, or I will open it back up for the end of the year. I don't know how many more spins I will get in there before the end of the year, but my hope is maybe at least one more, plus this one. So maybe 2 more before the end of the year. I'm just not spinning as much as I was. Quilting has kind of taken over some of that, and also Part of the reason that you see an uptick in quilting lately, I think I have explained this before, but if you're new here, the corner of Knit and Tea was always about knitting and tea and spinning, and I developed tendonitis a couple years ago, and the sewing does not affect my my arm and wrist the way that knitting and spinning do. And unfortunately, knitting and spinning both kind of make it ache a little bit. And so I can only do so much of that before I can turn to something else. And so I have been supplementing with quilting, but of course that means that I have lots more quilting content than I do knitting and spinning. So there will always be knitting and spinning. Knitting is my first and kind of my one true love, but there will also be other things as I sort of accommodate getting older and what my body will tolerate. I don't like to think of myself as getting older, but I'm 47 this year, and my muscles are not as spry as they once were, and I sort of have to accept sometimes that while I can still do all of the things I love, I may not be able to do them for 12 hours at a clip. So that is kind of where I'm at with that. So that is knitting and spinning and kind of my goals towards the end of the year. And as I come back after the holidays, I will also talk to you about like what I have accomplished this year, because I used to be kind of really into how much I had accomplished, and I'm still a little bit into it. I like to know like what I've done this year, but I also find that now that my crafting time is a little bit diminished, I also treasure what I can finish. So it's not always about the numbers anymore, but it is about kind of looking back at what I've done and, assessing, taking note, and then preparing for a new year. So in terms of quilting, I actually don't have that much to show you because I am still amid a bazillion pieces. I have been working on a quilt called Fireworks Finale, which is a sew-along for America's 250th anniversary. I am participating through my work. I work for Missouri Star to Quilt Co., and they launched it to celebrate America's 250th anniversary next year. And the quilt is, it is patriotic without being all flags and stars and stripes and eagles. And so it is, it's called Fireworks Finale because it looks like the fireworks burst at the end of a fireworks show where you have tons of fireworks going off in all different directions. It's got a ton of beautiful blocks, and then it's got tons and tons and tons of pinwheels. And this month was all about pinwheels. I think they called it Pinwheel Party. I have been joking that it should be called Death by Pinwheel. I had to assemble 52 pinwheels, and I should say that the part of the reason that this month was so large is because it actually has bits and pieces of all the other months in it. Basically, we are doing all the borders and kind of like, not background areas, but like we are doing all. The other months are all like specific blocks. Like the first month we did the center block. Next month we're doing 4 ribbon star blocks. So they'll be like the corners. And then we've got a few other blocks mixed in there for the few months after that. But like this month is all about kind of filling in all the bits and pieces with pinwheels. And so there are a lot of pinwheels. So I have been doing, I think, total, I did 52 pinwheels, and all the pinwheels are together, but now I am turning them into blocks. So I only have a very few of the blocks to show you, but these are the first set of my pinwheels that are done. So basically, there are 4 of these. There were 8 pinwheels, and then putting them together with some sashing. The dark blue is my background fabric. The slightly lighter medium blue is one of the fabrics that I'm featuring. The other ones will feature white, red, and light blue along with the dark blue background. So I will probably show you all of these when I get back. My hope is actually that I will finish putting, this is considered month 2's clue. It released on November 1st, and I have been working on it for the last 2 weeks, pretty much, not quite just since I got it, because I think the first weekend in November I was doing something else, but the last 2 weekends I have been working on these. No, I guess it is the last, yeah. So the last 2 weekends I have been working on all of my pinwheels and cutting and trimming every single half square triangle and trying to make sure that my points aren't cut off. And I will say, I am pleased to see how far I have come in my quilting, because once upon a time, this probably would have sent me to the madhouse. Not that this didn't, but this probably would have sent me crying somewhere, and I have made it through this without crying. Sometimes the steps have felt a little bit like an interminable slog, but 52 pinwheels means you have 52 times 4, so 204 half square triangle blocks, all of which need to be trimmed on 4 sides. Plus then you have to put all the other pieces together. So this has been a labor of love this month. I have spent a lot of time working on this. I hope the next clues are not quite so onerous. I hope this is the worst one. But that is what I'm working on. And so that is just like a little bit of a sneak peek on what I got into this week. I still have all the red ones. I have 16 red ones. I have 16 white ones. And then I have 12 of the light blue ones. And so I am, you know what? It's got to be more than 52. No, because it's 8. Yeah. Okay. 44 plus 8. Yep. 52. So that is what I have been working on and what I will continue to work on until I leave. In terms of finishing things towards the end of the year, I have a quilt that I finished the top for. It's called Sock It To Me. I showed it to you a few weeks ago. I would like to get that on the machine and get that quilted pretty much as soon as I get back. So that is definitely a goal, to finish that one and get that one knocked out before the end of the year. I will have another clue. I will have December 1st's clue for the America 250 quilt, so I would like to work on that. And then I have a few other things that I am thinking about. I would like to make myself a quilted laptop case, and I had sort of thought about it before traveling this this next week, and that's not going to happen, but I have all the materials, including the special batting for it, and I have plenty of fabric, and so I'm thinking that's going to be that will probably be like a weekend project, or maybe a like 1.5 weekend project. So my thought is maybe I will try and fit that in before the end of the year if I need another little sewing project kind of through Christmas and New Year's. Next year I have bitten off a lot, so I am going to QuiltCon, which is the quilting convention put on by the Modern Quilting Guild. I am going to that in February, and I kind of wanted to go personally, and then my company also decided to send me, so I am going professionally, but I'm also participating in some of the personal things. I am taking some classes, which is on my own dime, and then I also decided to participate in a quilt swap. So I have a swap partner who I will meet at QuiltCon in February, and I need to design a mini quilt, which would be less than 24 inches square, so 20-ish by 20-ish. So I need to design a quilt for her, and based on what I know about her, I have some ideas, but that will take some work. And then I also joined a Quilting Bee block club for next year. Which was one of those things that I really wanted to do and then had some hesitation, and really wanted to do and had some hesitation, and then I signed up for it and I still have some hesitation. So a Quilting Bee block club, the way this works is there are 12 of us in the group, and every month is someone's month, and they get to pick a block that they would like to turn into a quilt. And everybody in the group, including the person whose month it is, makes 2 of those blocks. So basically you make 2 of your own block, and then 11 other people each give you 2 blocks for a total of 24 quilt blocks. And then you can put a quilt together. So the reason it's 12 months and 12 people, well, okay, the reason it's 12 people is because it's 12 months and everybody gets their own month. So you can tell them, I want to do a log cabin block, and you can also, you can make some requests on fabric. Typically the way it goes is if you have a very specific fabric that you would like everyone to use, then you really need to buy it and provide it for everyone. However, if you have something like, I want a blue scrappy quilt, so make it out of scraps of blue, then you don't necessarily need to provide the fabric, because a lot of people will probably have different blue scraps that they can use in their stash. So I have no idea. The reason I am hesitant for all kinds of reasons, and it sounds totally fun. So I'm hesitant because, first of all, I have no idea what kind of block I want and what kind of color scheme or like fabric I want. So I have no idea what I'm going to do there and how I'm going to handle that. And I'm hoping that I will not be the person to start it off. I'm hoping I'll get a couple of months to kind of like ease in and figure out how it works before I get into my month, so that I have some ideas for what I would like. So at the end of it, basically you have 24 blocks you can put together and make a quilt and bind it, and you have a ready-made quilt. So the second thing is that I'm a little bit nervous about what people will pick as their blocks. Because I have talked about the fact that I am doing a lot better at quilting. I've been doing this 3 years now. I am more precise. I am more consistent in my seams. I am better at cutting and pressing and kind of making things the right size. But sometimes I'm still a little short or a little over. And when you're making blocks for someone else's quilt, this is basically like, since most of you are knitters who follow me, this is like when somebody makes a charity blanket and everybody knits a square, and then you get all the squares together and you're the person who puts the blanket together, and none of the squares are really exactly the same size. And you kind of have to figure out how to seam them and how to make it work. And you always have to like stretch one, and you have to kind of smush another one because it's a little too big, because even though gauge is gauge, it's not exactly the same. Well, so quilt blocks are a little bit the same way. Like, I'm not terribly concerned if like it comes out just a little bit big, because they can always trim it a little bit, but I am a little concerned if it comes out a little bit small. Also, I'm a little concerned about what kinds of blocks people are going to pick. Like, what kind of skills that I don't already have am I going to do? For instance, I've never sewn curves. If somebody picks a block with curves, I don't know what I'm gonna have to learn how to sew curves. But I'm also a little nervous that like my first attempt sewing curves would be in somebody else's quilt block. So, like I said, I've committed to a lot of things. I also just have a lot of things that I would like to do. I have plenty of fabric and plenty more quilts. I also woke up, and this is all I'll say about this, but I woke up in the middle of the night 2 nights ago and decided that I want to make chicken quilts. I want to make a big chicken wall hanging quilt based on my time as a chickener and knitting chickens. And I have a very specific idea of how I want to do it. I basically want to make like a wall quilt with one big chicken on it. But I have like multiple ideas for what the chickens could look like. And so maybe it's a series of panels. And I don't know if I make a bunch of quilts and then I share them with my chicken quilting family, like the other people that I worked with. I don't know. And I have like a specific technique I want to use. And so all of a sudden my brain is like off and running, and I'm like, slow down. You have too much to do in December, January, and February to like go off on a wild chicken chase. That's going to be the title of this episode, Wild Chicken Chase. You have too much to do, because I have to do my swap quilt before February, before I travel, and then I also have to do the new block thing before February, plus I'll have my America 250 quilt before February, so like I do not have time to start a chicken project, but that is what is on my brain. So I expect you'll see lots of quilting things in the next year. There will be plenty of spinning and knitting. I just am not quite off to the races with inspiration yet the same way. I really need to go through my stash and see what jumps out at me, and go through my queue again and kind of figure out what it is that I want to commit to next year. I don't know if I want to set myself a challenge. I don't know what I want to do. And I think part of that is also because I have like a ton of knitted attire. I have a million shawls. I have a million socks. I have tons of sweaters. So like there's nothing that I'm specifically needing. And also in knitting, like I'm not like springing ideas quite the same way I'm springing ideas in quilting. Like this whole chicken thing, I'm like, I want to take this person's technique and this and this and this and make a chicken wall hanging. And so like I don't have the same kind of sweater. But I do have yarn out from Scotland that I would like to make a vest. So maybe that will be my January project, because a vest would probably be pretty quick. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking about. I know I'm kind of rushing the end of the year, but I'm also like trying to think about what I want to finish off so that I can start the year clean and fresh. I would like to clean my room. I cleaned out my craft closet. I found tons more scraps. I have lots of things. Maybe I'll just make next year a charity year and knit lots and lots of things for charity and use up scraps. I don't know. So I'm going to bring this to a close because I'm at almost 30 minutes and I've probably taken up enough of your time today and enough rambling, but I clearly have lots and lots and lots of thoughts. I hope that you are doing well. I hope you are enjoying the changing of the seasons and a good cup of tea. I will say I will not see you for a week, so have a wonderful week. I won't wish you a happy Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving is just... It's one of those holidays that in the United States is based on a lot of regrettable incidents. And while I know a lot of people do not celebrate that piece of it, I don't know how to address that. Thanksgiving is just not a great historical holiday. I will say, if you are spending time with your friends and family next week, having a bountiful feast, please enjoy your time. If you are off from work a little bit, enjoy that too. If you want to shop for Black Friday, I will make my plea to shop indie, shop small businesses, shop local, and support all of our fellow artisans. Try and stay away from all the big box retailers. In the US, we're kind of calling for a blackout on that. But I expect that I will be buying a few things from some of my favorite indie vendors. And it does not mean don't buy it all. It just means don't buy from Amazon, don't buy from a lot of the big corporations. Anyway, now I'm getting really prescriptive. I will say, enjoy the next week. I will return to you on Monday, December 1st. I will hopefully have, I will not have finished socks to show you, but I hopefully will have a sweater that looks a lot more like a sweater than just a random tube. And hopefully lots of stories for you and some ideas about what I will fill December with. So I will say happy knitting, happy spinning, happy embroidering and quilting, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.